All right, tonight is session 5. We are in session 5 of our study in the New Testament survey. And what we're going to do tonight is we're just going to mainly review tonight. So if you brought your sheets with you, all right, it's an open book review, all right, open book review. We're just going to review some of the things that we've discussed over the last 4 weeks. Next week, what we'll do is we're going to study the end of the book of Mark. Yes, ma'am. We're going to study the end of Mark. So if you would read Mark 16, and what you're going to see there, you're going to see 3 endings for the book of Mark. If you got a good study Bible, it'll give you a good division. All right. We're going to talk about textual criticism next week, and we're going to talk about the end of Mark. So look again at Mark, the last chapter 16, and I want to call to your attention. I want to prompt you as what to look for. Notice there's three different endings. Okay. All right. There's an ending at verse 8. All right. The second ending. There's a section there right after verse 8, all right? And then after that section there where it picks up at verse 9, it's going to give you the rest of the book of Mark, all right? So what I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and read that, all right? And jot some questions. I want you to notice some things there, okay? Because basically what it is, you've got 3 different endings there, okay? I don't know, you probably never thought about it, probably never looked at it that way, but there's 3 different endings to Mark. And that's our assignment for next week. So tonight what we're going to do, we're just going to review, and we will start with what we talked about on last week. We studied the book of Mark. I took you through basically the highlights of a great article by a scholar by the name of Adela Collins concerning the reference to the Son of God in the book of Mark, all right? Son of God in the book of Mark, all right? And we shared with you last week, the reference of the Son of God, where does that reference originate from? Huh?
The Greek.
Okay, the Greeks, okay? The Greeks. The term Son of God originates in Greek culture, okay? All right? Okay? And so the Greeks, what Mark does is that Mark wants to communicate to the Greeks, all right, okay, and he needs a master image, so to speak. He needs to use something to connect with them, and what the Greeks used was what was resonant in the Greek mind was the terminology of the Son of God, because in Greek mythology, you remember, you've got Zeus, which is the god of gods in their culture. All the other gods emanate from Zeus. So they were called what?
Sons of God.
They were called sons of God, okay? And more than likely, any great man, any great warrior, any great sportsman in their culture who was able to do great feats was considered what? A son of God, okay? So now Mark says, now I've got it. I've got it now. Mark says, I've got it. He said, I'm going to portray Jesus as the Son of God, okay? Because remember now, in Matthew's gospel, he's portrayed as what? King of the Jews, the Messiah. That's how Matthew paints him. Notice the difference in Matthew's gospel. When he talks about the kingdom, Matthew refers to it as the kingdom of heaven. In the other gospels, it's called the kingdom of God. There's a reason. Because the Jews were very careful not to speak the name of God. So they said the kingdom of heaven in Matthew's gospel. But in Mark's gospel and the other gospels, they're referred to as the kingdom of God. All right? So now Mark's got this great master image. Mark says, look, I'm going to portray Jesus as the Son of God. That's what he says in Mark 1:1, right? Right?
Yes.
Y'all had a tough day today, right, y'all? Hard day. Okay. Matthew 1:1, that's what he starts off with. He doesn't start off with the genealogy. He doesn't start off with the birth of Jesus. He jumps right into it. He says, this is the gospel of Jesus Christ, the Son of God. All right, okay. I believe we said in Mark 8, where Jesus asked, who do you say that I am? All right. Peter says, you are the what? You're the Messiah. Okay. You're the Messiah. You're the Son of God. He says that in Matthew's gospel, but that there is a key reference there. We see also at the end of Mark where Jesus gives up the ghost, he dies, and the sky is dark, all right? He gives up the ghost, and the centurion there, he says, surely what? This was the Son of God, okay? Now remember now, he's not saying that from a Jewish perspective, okay? He's saying that from a Greek perspective. Okay, that's how he sees Jesus as the Son of God. All right, and so also we shared with you there are places in Mark where the Greeks would have seen Jesus. They would have seen him as the Son of God. Okay, or really in their minds a Son of God. But Mark is emphasizing the Son of God. What were those places we highlighted for you in Mark last week? If you got your sheet before you, you got your answer right there before you. What were the places in Mark where we highlighted Jesus, Mark fashioning Jesus as the Son of God? What's that? Okay, Empedocles. Okay. We were talking. Well. I want to use those. Those were the people in Jewish history. But that's a good answer. That's a good answer, Brother Clint. Empedocles was a Greek hero. All right. Okay. And there's things about him that when you read about him, you say, look, that sounds like Jesus. Okay. All right. But we're in the book of Mark that we highlight and show you how Mark fashioned his gospel, or fashions Jesus as the Son of God. What? 5th chapter? Okay, yeah, okay. The confessions of the demons, okay, all right. When Mark writes his gospel, all right, the demons come out and say, have you come to torment us, thou son of the Most High God? Okay, all right. That terminology would resonate in a Greek's mind. Okay, all right. The Jews wouldn't write it like that. All right, but a Greek, someone who wants to connect with the Greeks, would say it like that. Okay, the Son of the Most High God. All right. What's another place in Mark we highlighted? What's that? The Transfiguration. Okay, at the Transfiguration, Jesus goes up on the mountain, and boom, he is what? Transfigured. He's changed. He is this glowing figure before 3 of his disciples, and in the Greek mind, that would resonate with them. Okay, that their God will have been going undercover, so to speak, as a human, but here he is. You're seeing him in his true form. Have you all ever seen the show called Undercover Boss? Okay, all right. Undercover Boss, where the boss goes undercover and he does the work of people in his corporation or whatever. Okay, all right. And a lot of times he can't do what they do, but he's undercover. But yet he's the what? He's the boss. Okay. So in Greek mythology, their gods were seen to be at times incognito. Okay. Yes, sir.
You got a sheet there, and there's another one here.
No, sir. No, sir. I don't. No, sir. I don't have an extra one with me right now. No, sir. Okay. All right. Give me another one. What's another place? Okay. Jesus as a prophet in Mark's Gospel, chapter 13, where Jesus walks out of the temple, or he's in the vicinity of the temple. All right. And he talks about the end of time, starts talking about the end of time. All right. The way Mark presents him in oratory or in speaking, is like a Greek god would speak. Okay, all right. So once again, for the Greek mind, for the Greek audience, all right, when they read this or when they hear this, they immediately begin to identify, all right, with Jesus being the Son of God, okay? And the last one was what? We already shared that one. The last one was in Mark 15, the response of creation when Jesus dies on the cross. The temple, what happens in the temple when Jesus dies? The veil between the holy place and the Holy of Holies, it rents from the top to the bottom, all right? Supernatural things happen. And once again, the soldier says, surely this must be the Son of God, okay? All right. Well, like I say, look, we're just gonna continue to review some things that we've reviewed all the last 4 weeks, and I'll just read some things here. And if you kind of see it in your notes there, you just be a good student and give the answer. All right, okay. All right. What are the synoptic gospels? What are the synoptic gospels?
Mark, Matthew.
Okay, Mark, Matthew, and Luke. Okay, somebody said it. Mark, Matthew, and Luke. They're called the synoptic gospels. Why are they called the synoptic gospels? Okay, because they're similar. They, for the most part, for a great deal, a great course of it, they say the same thing. You see the same accounts of Jesus' teaching and the narratives that he teaches. So the word synoptic means to what? To see together. It means to see together. Okay, all right. Which type of biblical criticism examines changes made to a text? Redaction. Okay. We talked about redaction criticism a couple of weeks ago, all right? And all redaction criticism is, it is examining the final form of a text, and it's looking for changes that are different from the original story or another story in one of the synoptics, all right? We looked at Luke chapter 5. Jesus heals the paralytic, okay, all right? And so if you're looking at if you're doing redaction criticism, you got 3 gospels that you're looking at, right? Okay. What is the tool that we shared with you that helps you do redaction criticism? What's that called? Remember, I gave you a little sheet with all 3 of the gospels on it.
Okay.
What's that? Yeah. What's that called? A triple tradition, a text in the triple tradition would be if you saw all 3 in the synoptics, which when we shared, both that we shared. When first we used an example, then we looked at Luke 5. They're in all 3 called the triple tradition. All right, okay. If you see two stories out of the 3, that's called a what? A double tradition. Very good. Come to the head of the class. Come to the head of the class. All right. But what is the tool? What is the tool that's used to do redaction criticism? What's that little sheet called that I gave you? No, the answer's right on it.
Editorial.
No, not an editorial. No, not an editorial.
On the sheet, it's on.
It's right on the sheet. It's right there on the sheet. A synopsis. A synopsis. It's called a synopsis. All right, huh?
I thought that word was used already.
Synoptic. Synoptic. Good observation, though. You on it. You on it, Brother Waldriff. You on it. We said synoptic for the synoptic gospels. The tool for redaction criticism is called a synopsis. When you have a book that has the text laying parallel, it makes it easier to see the differences in the text. Okay? All right? Matthew and Luke each have material that the other doesn't have. What is that called? Matthew and Luke each have material that other doesn't have. What is it called? Okay, special M and special L. Come to the head of the class. Special M and special L. Okay, it's called special. Okay, Matthew and Luke each have some material. They have things that they have together the same, but they have some things that are different from each other.